to resume his session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, sir, and all the participants. Today, we'll have the SEBI and its functions, how SEBI has evolved, why SEBI was required, then when SEBI came out, what are the things that SEBI has done, and how it has built the market, how it has developed the market and the instruments and the process as well. If you have any question, you can ask me. As I told you in last class, anytime you can ask me. You can write to me if you have any questions after the session as well. Anytime you can write to me. So I'll start with the regulatory system. When we say regulatory system of a country, it is of two types. One is single regulatory system, another is multiple regulatory system. When we say single regulatory system, one regulator will regulate all the departments or all the segments. Suppose say if we will say only Ministry of Finance will regulate all banks, commodity markets or equity markets or foreign exchange market, or insurance and pensions. So that is called a single regulatory system. But we follow a multiple regulatory system or umbrella regulatory system. The other name of multiple regulatory system is. Each of these systems are having its own good points and own lacunas as well. And that is how those who have tracked the market or those who are in market, those who are in market, you have seen that FMC got merged with SEBI. What is that FMC? That was Forward Market Commission that was regulating the commodity market, and it got merged with SEBI. It was like a committee was formed under one deputy governor of RBI to bring out a single regulatory system, or at least we should merge some of the regulators. If it is not a single regulatory system, we should merge. Then that was the result that FMC got merged with SEBI. Now commodity becomes a separate department of SEBI. We'll also discuss what are the requirement of regulators. You can see in the left hand side, this was the open outcry system that I was mentioning in last class. In the open outcry system, everybody are fighting each other to get the shares, and there are so much defaults and so much crowd, again so much disturbances that was happening in the market. But that has been stopped, or that has been reformed, and now we are sitting in our home and we are looking the market silently. No one is there to disturb us, or no one is having more information and someone is having less information. Everybody all are having equal information. Although there are some insider trading, I'll come to what insider trading is, how it is being happening. But still regulators caught those insiders. Okay. Now in this regulated system in our India, first is SEBI. SEBI is looking after different products, like regulating different market intermediaries. Those products are equity, debt, derivatives, and the institutions, like we call them market infrastructure institutions. That is called MII. So it is regulating the market infrastructure institutions like depositories, clearing corporations, stock exchanges, then the market participants like brokers and say merchant bankers, say underwriters. It is regulating, and it is also protecting the interest of the investors, either it is institutional investor or HNI or retail investor. If we come to money market instruments, all of you are aware that RBI is regulating. Then insurance and pension fund are regulated by IRDA and PFRDA respectively. Thereafter, forex market is regulated by RBI, although the currency derivative market is regulated by SEBI. Then the loan market is regulated by RBI. Then the saving and investment market, it depends on which are the instruments that investors are preferring. It regulated by SEBI and RBI, SEBI or RBI. The basic role of all the regulators is to maintain the financial stability of a country. That's how we have something called Financial Stability and Development Council, FSDC. Those who know this FSDC, how it works, that are the combination of all the regulators. All regulators sit together every quarterly to discuss the major challenges in each of the segments or each of the sectors that one regulator is regulating, and how to come out from those instability and how to maintain the financial stability in a country. So that FSDC is working very effectively. Every quarterly report of FSDC is available. You can get it from RBI, although RBI plays a major role. I have mentioned or not, one is market-based economy, another is bank-based economy. Anyone is aware about these two, market-based and bank-based? Can anyone answer what is market-based economy? What is bank-based economy? Anyone? You can unmute and tell what is market-based and what is bank-based. Okay. See, basically in the market-based economy, market regulates, like market controls the whole of the economy. When we say market controls, that is capital market controls whole of the economy. When we say bank-based economy, banking, like the central bank or banking system controls the whole of the economy. Majority of the economy are bank-based because bank came first into the society. Later on, the capital market came, even in US as well. So bank-based economy is dominating and it is controlling the system, and market-based economy is growing. It is not totally controlling the system. You can see, if you see controlling of interest rate, controlling of inflation, or controlling of any of the fraudulent activities that are going on through demonetization or anything that is done by banks. And if any time bank wants to, like bank feels that there are shortage of supply of money, then they can reduce the interest rate, and they are fully controlling. So this is our market. Our economy is a bank-based economy, and we prefer this bank-based economy over market-based economy. Market-based economy will take again a long way to come out with a controlling power with the economy. But there are certain sectors that are regulated by all. Like if you consider, you are aware about MCA, that is Ministry of Corporate Affairs. If you consider one company which is listed in stock exchanges, will be regulated by SEBI. The same company has been registered under MCA, will be regulated by MCA. The same company, if it is an insurance company, will be regulated by IRDA. Insurance company, if listed, will be regulated by IRDA, SEBI, and Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Pension fund, if it is regulated by PFRDA, again, if pension fund is not listed in India, but if the company will be listed in India, then it will be again regulated by SEBI. Banks, you can see banks are regulated by RBI, regulated by SEBI because they have listed, regulated by MCA. So one entity or one organization is regulated by several regulators. So that's why the meeting of regulator or the coordination among the regulators are required in India. This is how I was telling the Financial Stability and Development Council. This was formed for the purpose of meeting regulators to discuss the challenges they are facing and how to come out from those challenges. You all are aware that these are the financial regulators. So SEBI is regulating capital market for banking, RBI for insurance, IRDA for pension, PFRDA. Now, have you heard about deregulation and re-regulation? Can anyone explain what is deregulation or re-regulation? What is regulation? Bringing out a stringent norm or bringing out a structural form on which one will be regulated, or the terms and conditions, or the the law that will govern the particular product or particular sector or particular segment. Suppose say Companies Act 2013 is there to regulate all the companies, and SEBI regulations are there for different entities, like Depository Act is there and SEBI Act is there. So they are regulating different entities. Now the new thing is, what is deregulation? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can anyone say what is deregulation and what is re-regulation?
Deregulation means removal of certain regulation or restriction.
Yes. Good. Then re-regulation means?
Sorry, sir. I have no idea.
Yeah. So deregulation means removing or withdrawing that regulation. Suppose we are regulating, we have introduced one regulation and that is not effectively working, so withdraw that regulation. Okay. Suppose during this pandemic there are so many say relaxation on the regulation that has happened through all the regulators, not only capital market regulators. So if we will totally remove one regulation, then that is called deregulation. Okay. And if we feel that same regulation can be reintroduced and it can be applied, can request all of you to just mute yourself. Some background noise is coming. So when we reintroduced it, it becomes re-regulation. Okay. Deregulation. Okay. Then another concept is dematerialization and rematerialization. What is dematerialization and what is rematerialization?
Sir, dematerialization is something which is disformed, and rematerialization is something which is going to be deformed.
Yeah, that is correct. Actually, dematerialization means we are converting the physical part into electronic part. We are just removing the physical things.
Sir, what is deregulation?
Deregulation means withdrawing one regulation. Suppose one regulation has been imposed or applied, and we are facing some of the problem of that regulation, then we will just withdraw that regulation. Suppose say we are saying directly, there was a talk, those who are following the news, there is a talk that directly retail investors can participate in the market without any broker. Okay. If we will give that regulation.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, there is some background noise. We cannot hear you properly.
That is what someone is someone's, yeah, this ASBM FTP. Professor Nanda, can you mute yourself? Professor Nanda, can you mute yourself? This ASBM FDP, can you mute yourself? Just give me 1 minute, I'll call them.
हेलो हाँ नहीं कटिगला और नेट समस्या था.
Sir, can you mute yourself?
Yeah.
Please. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, this deregulation means withdrawing one regulation. Okay, am I audible now? Clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So see, deregulation means withdrawing one regulation. Suppose we impose that, say, directly retail investors can buy from the exchanges without any brokers. Now that part is there somehow in the mutual fund. Directly we are participating in mutual fund without any distributor. If that is there, and there are so many problems that exchanges are not able to handle, like the brokers are dealing with clients frequently and they are resolving the client's issue. Now exchanges are like the work or the duty of the exchanges are not to resolve the investors issue, which are like broker based, and when brokers are not there, exchange has to do that. Then if that system will get more problem because of one regulation, then we withdraw that regulation. Okay, that is one withdrawal or one ownership structure you are aware about. Like one announcement was there by finance minister that we will have the ownership structure of say currently it is 75% maximum by promoter and 25% minimum by non-promoters. Okay, so this current finance minister 1.5 years before has announced we will make it as 65% for promoters and 35% for non-promoters. Okay, now the existing company, those who are having 75%, they have to dilute their promoters stake and they have to sell through offer for sale or OFS we call them, and that will they have to bring down to 65% from 75%. This 10% selling of all the listed companies is not a easy part. It will take a longer period of time. Then that regulation got hold and it will be again removed. Now it has not been applied because it was realized that this regulation will not work, or it will create lots of noise in the market, because it is not an easy part to convert all the companies, bring down the promoter stake to 65%. So this is called deregulation. But when after 2-3 years, then again when we realize that yes, promoters are like dominating in the company and they are doing whatever they want to do, so we must bring down their stake. So that again, if it is reintroduced, that is called re-regulation. Okay. Now dematerialization is removing the materialization or removing the physical form of anything. Here in case of equity or in case of shares, it was removal of the physical form of the certificates. Physical form of certificate has been removed, and what came out is e-platform or electronic storage of certificate was there. Then when this from physical share to electronic share we have moved, that was a very difficult time, because all people were thinking that their electronic share will be stolen and we may not able to control all the shares electronically. So we may come out with rematerialization again if that problem happens. So dematerialization and rematerialization means again convert the e shares into physical shares. Okay. Are you clear about this deregulation, re-regulation, and dematerialization and rematerialization?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, many times this deregulation is coming from IMF and World Bank. If you read some of the papers, they frequently use this deregulation and re-regulation, because they are facing some of the problem with new regulations, then they are withdrawing, then again they are reintroducing. Now coming to our setup of SEBI. Before SEBI, I told you that like who was there in last class. I told you before SEBI who was regulating the market, capital market in India. Anyone? We'll do one quiz competition after this session. So that was Controller of Capital Issue, or CCI. That Controller of Capital Issue was regulating the market, and it was there were so many problems. We'll discuss what was the problem of this Controller of Capital Issue, so that SEBI came out in picture. SEBI came in 1988. Before SEBI, like we have told the history of trading pattern of India. From 1830s, it was started with cotton trades, and 1875 BSE was established. Then further, the regional stock exchanges like Ahmedabad and Calcutta and Madras were established in 1894, 1908 and 1920. Then whenever we regulate either a instrument or a market, we should have an act. So Bombay Securities Contract Act came in 1925. Then this Capital Issues Control Act 1947 for the primary issues. Then Securities Contract Regulation Act came in 1956. Companies Act, you all are aware, like 1956 and 2013. Then Securities Contract Regulation Act again amended in 1957. Then SEBI was established in 1988. It got statutory power in 1992. When this dematerialization has happened, then Depositories Act came in 1996, how to control the electronic certificates. So this is the open outcry system. When these physical shares were there, then it has converted into e-platform or electronic shares through dematerialization. Now, before going to how this SEBI is functioning, we'll see the financial growth or industrial growth pre-1991. In pre-1991, people were thinking that public sector enterprises are the means they are dominating. They are the temples of modern India. Then thereafter, nationalization of commercial banks has happened. Then credit programs and priority sector lending was allowed. Then UTI Trust of India was formed under UTI Act. There is a separate act of UTI. This UTI Unit Trust of India was having three things. One is UTI Bank, the current Axis Bank, which was earlier UTI Bank. Then UTI Mutual Fund, it is our asset management company that is still there. And another was UTI Institute of Capital Market, where I have joined as a PhD scholar. That also got merged with SEBI, like NISM. Then, and this Unit Trust of India was like market leader, and it was also not ready to obey SEBI regulation. Then there are so much debates. Then after that, UTI came under SEBI because UTI was following the UTI Act. Then there are developmental financial institution has been set up, and government guarantees their bonds, and special access were there through concessional funds from RBI. Then there is an Office of the Controller of Capital Issue, which was regulating the capital market. There are instruments there like statutory liquid ratio is allowed, SLR. Then one biggest thing was, yeah.
Hello, sir. I have a doubt, sir. Sir, what is it nationalization of commercial banks, sir? How it is that that happens? Like what that means?
What?
Nationalization of commercial banks.
Yeah.
So like it means merging of banks.
Not means?
Merging. So like merging of banks, like sir, PNB merged with.
No. This now it is merger of banks. It was nationalized. Commercial banks has been nationalized. In the banking category, you will say nationalization banks means they are allowed to set up in all over India, and their government's stake will be there, and government's control will be more there mostly. So all commercial banks are not allowed for nationalization. They have to be satisfy certain terms and conditions. Okay. And when it is nationalized, people or depositor will have more faith on those banks, and they can be actually come under more under the eye of the central government, yeah, and the RBI. Yeah, are you clear?
Yes.
Okay. I think all of you are aware about what statutory liquidity ratio is.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, could you please tell the role of UTI?
Role of UTI. See, UTI was the first organization who has actually established or came out with a good financial institution. It has built up. One was mutual fund, UTI mutual fund. That was only mutual fund, the first mutual fund house or AMC. And another was Axis Bank, and the third one was the institute which was promoting the education of on capital markets. UTI played a very good role. Even those who have there was something called Unit 63 scam. UTI was providing good amount of return to the investors, and it was promising that monthly this much return it will provide. Then when it was having losses also, it was still providing the profit or the return to the investors. Then that was one biggest scam. That thereafter some stringent regulation came out. But UTI was the or is the main institute which has converted the Indian system into market-based, like which has given the trust on the people to participate in the market. Okay.
Sir, was it established by Government of India?
No, UTI was established under a UTI Act. It was a public sector actually. Then again, it has become a private one. But it was established under a Act, UTI Act. Yeah.
For the promotion of capital markets.
Yeah, promotion of capital market was one activity. Okay. Second was like banking was another, and this mutual fund was another. Promotion of capital market was done by the institutes or UTI Institute of Capital Markets. And like for the first mutual fund or first AMC was the UTI. When people were not aware what mutual fund is, UTI was there and to like educate the people how to participate in the mutual funds. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Now, you are aware about what SLR is? The last point also. What SLR is, you are aware? Statutory liquidity ratio, you are aware? SLR. See, SLR is statutory liquidity ratio. The banks and financial institution banks are bound to keep some amount of their deposit in SLR, that is in the instruments which will help to liquidate easily, okay, or which will help to convert their investment into money easily. So those are money market instruments mostly. So those like this government or treasury bills or there are some of the instruments that RBI come out with time to time. So those are SLR, that is statutory liquidity ratio. So this SLR is governed by RBI. The rate of interest or rate of return in the SLR instruments are very low. That's why banks or the financial institutions are not participating or not investing on those instruments. Then RBI came out with a stringent regulation that out of your 100 rupees deposit, you should, earlier it was 24, like you should invest 24 rupees in SLR. Then now it is 18 rupees. Then what will happen? The short-term market or money market will be like participation will be more, liquidity will also increase. Okay. Now, the last part is inefficient allocation of resources, mispricing, market segmentation, and missing markets. What does this mean? The inefficient allocation of resources was there because there are not having access to all, and there are not a single place, like we can see the transparency that is happening nowadays in electronic form, that yes, this is the price or that is the price and this is the information. If GDP has came down, it is like known to all. So like if any IPO is coming out, it is known to all. So in the pre-SEBI scenario, it was not known to everybody, and there are so much mispricing. You can see if a broker will say this is the price, you will pay that. One broker at Bhubaneswar will say the same instrument is 20 rupees. Another broker at Mumbai will say it is 18 rupees, or Delhi it will say 25 rupees. It will people will believe that. Then the market segmentation and missing markets. Nowadays also there are some fraudulent brokers they are doing. There will be no market, but trading will be happening there. So those people, they don't know, like if we will go back to some remote village areas and we'll teach them that this is market, that is market, you can buy and sell. Without having any market, if you are giving them some of the product and you are running away, and those microfinance institutions are nowadays also has done. So those are all missing markets that were there. Nowadays we are able to capture. How or why this SEBI came into picture? There is lack of lack of transparency in the market, and there is a merit-based system. See, now we are sitting in a disclosure-based system. You can say the moment from merit-based system to disclosure-based system happened. What is merit-based and what is disclosure-based? The merit-based system will not give all the information with the IPO or primary issue or the issue. It will also not give chance to participate like in a the way we are seeing now IPOs with a cap and floor price or with a price range. There will be a fixed price only, and it will be again dominated by the market intermediaries. So though that merit-based system has been vanished in the post-SEBI era. Okay. Then another was fly-by-night operators who, when it's after fundraising, suppose one company has raised 500 crores and other day you will not find that company itself. You have seen many of the microfinance institutions in Andhra, Odisha, and West Bengal. They have now it has also done that in the capital markets segment. If one company has raised and it will go away, the regulation was not that much strict to capture them. Then it was broker dominated stock exchange. I told you in the last class that brokers were dominating the stock exchanges. When SEBI came out, brokers has been converted into member of those stock exchanges, and stock exchanges was becoming an independent entity. Then the trading system was also very not very accessible to all. The trading system was opaque trading system. Then there was no uniform trading cycle, and it was following accounting period, that is okay, but non-uniform of trading cycle was there. Suppose one broker is giving T plus 35 days, another broker is giving T plus 20, another broker is giving T plus 50, like the trading cycle that we have told you on that day. Then another is bad delivery or non-delivery of shares or money. If you buy or sell, if you buy, you will get shares. That is your right. But that was not there. Sometimes a broker will also not deliver to whom you are buying, and say non-delivery of money also happens. If you have sold, you should have get back immediately. You will not get it. You have to follow the trading cycle, the trading and clearing and settlement cycle. So once that was also not possible, and so much abuses and market manipulations were there. Frequently market was failing, market failures were there. That's why, and limited investment avenues, some specific products were there. There are not much products, so that nowadays we are having n number of financial instruments we can select and we can invest. That time it was limited investment avenues. We are not having even derivative products as well in the pre-scenario. So what was the result? As a result, there was low investors' confidence. Investors' confidence was very low. Okay. Then you are aware about the industrial and trade policies since 1991 until date. There are FEMA and Competition Act and export-oriented growth strategy, and privatization and disinvestment. You are aware about disinvestment. I think you know about disinvestment. Can anyone say what is disinvestment?
Sir, wrong investment.
Sorry. What is disinvestment?
Sir,
It
wrong
is
investment.
reduction of an investment or withdrawal of an investment.
Yeah, it is selling your investment or reduction of your part of your investment. In the
Sir,
disinvestment part,
reduction of investment means?
it is mostly applicable for public sector. Suppose government wants to privatize one sector or sell stake in a particular company, one public sector company, then it will disinvest. Okay, whatever has been invested, suppose it is having a 60% stake in say Nalco, it will sell 20%. That means 20% it is disinvesting. Okay, that is called disinvestment. And if it is fully, it is giving to the private part, then that is privatization. Are you clear? In many of the budget, am I audible now? Okay, just now how is it? Are you able to hear me properly?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you. Okay, so that is how disinvestment and privatization. If fully we are government is selling one part to private party fully, and it is privatization. If part of the investment it is diluting or selling, that is disinvestment. Okay. Then in financial markets, there are certain reforms since 1991 that were autonomous regulatory in the financial sector, and creation of universal banks, the entry of private sectors, both from domestic and from foreign, and focus of financial inclusion reaching to each of the bottom level of the people, and opening up of insurance sector. Now, in SEBI, what are major like securities market reforms that SEBI has done since it came, and what was the problem with this controller of capital issue? SEBI Act came in 1992 and it was again amended in 2002. It came out with a disclosure-based regulation. Everything will be disclosed to everybody. And whenever any company is coming out with a IPO, the information will be available to all. Then we have allowed foreign institutional investors to invest in India. Earlier it was not there. Then I told you in the last class that first screen-based trading was done by NSE, and it was the first electronic stock exchange. So launch of screen-based trading was there. Then dematerialization, converting into physical shares into dematerialized form or electronic form. Nowadays, no one is carrying the physical share certificate. Then the rolling settlement, the settlement process again got stringent, and we are following T+15. Then it got reduced to T+3, and now it is T+2 rolling settlement. The settlement cycle that I showed you. Then introduction of ETF, exchange traded funds, and exchange traded equity, currency, and interest rate derivatives. Then corporatization and demutualization of stock exchanges that are actually helped the market to improve or market to grow. Now, this function of, before coming to function of securities market, I'll show you one thing, how the SEBI structure now. It is the organizational structure of SEBI. If you see, there is a chairman, and under chairman there are 4 whole-time members. This chairman is mostly IS officers are getting this chairmanship. This current chairman is also a IS officer. Then just like RBI governor and deputy governor, the system in SEBI is chairman and whole-time member. The deputy governor are called as WTM, whole-time member. There are 4 WTMs. One is Sri G. Mahalingam, he is now WTM. These WTMs are appointed for 3 years and they can get extension of 2 more years, up to 5 years. This Sri G. Mahalingam was executive director of RBI. He becomes WTM at SEBI. Ms. Madhvi Puribuch was with the BRICS Development Bank in Shanghai. Then he came as a WTM. Sri S.K. Mohanty, he is from Odisha. He's a IRS officer. He became WTM. He was the director of FMC, Forward Market Commission as well. And Sri Anant Barua, he was a SEBI employee. He became WTM. Now these 4 WTMs are there. Under them, all the departments are there. We'll discuss a little bit about each of the departments, how they are functioning and how the portfolio of each of these WTMs are distributed to each of the WTMs they are handling. Okay. So functions of capital market or securities market, you are aware that how we transfer risk from risk averts to the risk takers. Like those who are risk takers, they will choose the risky products, and those who don't want to take more risk, they will go for less risky financial instruments. Okay. And how does it helps? I told you in the last class, how does the market helps to mobilization of savings into investment. Okay. This securities market regulations, we can divide into 3 parts. One is for product, another is for process, and we can say another is for investors. Okay. In the product, all the instruments are coming. In the process, all the market intermediaries are coming. And in the investor category, all the categories of investors like institution and non-institutional investors are coming. Okay. The idea is to protect the main preamble of the SEBI is to protect the investors' interest and to develop the market and to build trust in the market through several regulations and effective and or fair or predictable enforcement actions. Every day, SEBI is taking action to some or other entity by violating the regulations. If you see in the SEBI website, all the orders that are coming every day are of some of the actions for unfair trading practices or market manipulations or violation of any of the regulations. Okay. And it is contribute to mitigate the systemic risk. Now, what is the need for a regulator? You can see this picture, it is, and this picture, which is regulated, which is not regulated. The left side is regulated, and if we will not regulate, the situation will be disorder or it will confuse. When we regulate, it will go smoothly without any disturbances. Okay. Now, SEBI is actually coming under Ministry of Finance. It has been established as an administrative body under Ministry of Finance in 1988, and it got statutory power like independence regulator of securities market in 1992. So what are the acts that are there? We'll look into when we look into the capital market part. One is SEBI Act 1992, then Depository Act 1996, then Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956, and Companies Act 2013. There are 3 mandates of SEBI. One is protect interest of the investor, then regulate the securities market and develop the securities market. Okay. how does protect interest of the investor? What does it mean? Does it mean like if investors are losing, again SEBI will pay back them? What do we mean by protecting investors' interest? How investors' interest SEBI is protecting? That are it is not like that SEBI will look into when you are losing. SEBI will look into if any of the party is defaulting, if you are not getting back your money.
To save them from fraud.
Yeah, save the investors from the fraud. Yeah, that is one biggest thing, that it protects the interest of the investor. So if investor is facing any of the problem in the market, either broker is cheating or any other entities are cheating, say an investor can file a complaint. One development is there, you can write down SEBI score. Okay, in SEBI website, something is called scores, SEBI scores. If you click there, this is the SEBI scores, means SEBI complaints redress system. Here, anyone can complain or file a complaint here. You can register here and you can lodge a complaint. You will get a reply. It is not like that it will not be replied. If it is a authentic complaint, the action will be taken on the other party. If it is not, you will get a reply that yes, it is not a valid complaint. It is not like that anything you can complain. Those genuine complaint is taken care of by SEBI. Okay, this SEBI score is helping a lot to the investors. It was not there earlier, so investors were facing problem to go back to the SEBI offices. Yeah, SEBI is having a head office at Mumbai, and regional offices are there, and local offices are there. So local offices in each of the states capital, it is there, local offices are there, and regional offices are there in each of the regions. Okay, even Bhubaneswar is having one SEBI office. You can visit. It is that place near IG Park only. It is there. Yeah. Then it regulates the securities market. That is, it will regulate all the market participants and companies. Then it develop the securities market. How SEBI will develop the security market? See, our thinking was only SEBI has been established to regulate the market. How SEBI will develop the securities market? Anyone? What does this develop securities market mean? How can we develop securities market?
By providing smooth functioning and easier control.
Yeah, smooth functioning will not develop the market. It will create confidence on the investor if smooth functioning is there. To develop the market, we should bring new products, new regulations, and we should reach towards the people. Okay, for developing securities market, there is a special department called as Investors Education Department. Okay, SEBI appoints SEBI resource persons all over India, and they are going and they are conducting some of the workshops on how to educate the investors. They are educating the investors. That is one part. And to develop the securities market, SEBI has established NISM as well to bring out several training and several courses. To develop securities market over the years, we'll have a very big instruments, list of instruments that we have introduced, like SEBI has introduced to develop the market. And it also allows all investors to participate in the market. Okay. So to develop securities market, one part is give training, second part is increase or come out with innovative financial instruments. Then third, also setting up new market infrastructure institutions or MIIs So SEBI is establishing also new exchanges, like I told you, International Stock Exchange and Social Stock Exchange is also coming. So it will attract a group of separate group of investors. Okay, this is how it develops. So three important and three basic function of SEBI is protect investors' interest, regulate the securities market, and develop the securities market. Okay. This regulatory structure in India, we have told you in last class, this FMC got merged with SEBI. So we will not go to that part. Now, what is there any problem here? Is there
Yes, sir,
any
traffic problem?
What problem?
Traffic problem, sir.
Why it
There
is?
is no regulation. Proper regulation is not there.
So this is how a unregulated market looks like. If you put one traffic police here and traffic points, then all will follow, and there will be no rush, or no one will get stuck in the road. So that is how the reform was required for SEBI. When SEBI came out, there is a big reform was required. Okay, SEBI came out in 1992. So in 1993, SEBI allowed private mutual fund to start their operation or start getting registered. Then when now we have 45 mutual fund houses. I think you had one session on mutual fund. Okay. In 1994, screen-based trading was started by NSE. In 1996, dematerialization has started, like converting all physical shares into electronic shares. Then in 2000, that was the biggest year for Indian capital market. In 2000, we have introduced the derivative products. Actually, before 2000, India was having commodity derivatives in the prior to 1970, 1960, that were traded in a OTC derivative market, over-the-counter market, and there are so much frauds and so many default was happening. That's why Indian government Ministry of Finance has banned for introduction of derivative products in India. Now in 1999, Professor J.R. Burma, now he's still there in IIM Ahmedabad. He has headed one committee to see the opportunities and challenges that are required, that are there for derivative products in India. They have submitted the report to SEBI, and SEBI came out with introduction of derivative products in 2000. First was index derivatives. Index derivatives mean derivative of a particular index, like Sensex and Nifty. Thereafter, sectoral indices were keeping on adding. Then in 2001, we have allowed stock derivatives, like a derivative on equities. In 2003, we have converted into T+2 rolling settlement. Before 2003, it was T+3. Now, USA has moved before 2 years to T+2 from T+3. You can imagine how efficient Indian stock market is. Indian stock market has moved in 2003, and USA is moving just in 2018. USA has moved to T+2 rolling settlement. I am sure what T+2 you are understanding. What is T+2? Can anyone say? What
Sir,
is
the
Yeah.
share e-certificates will, and the share will come into a demat account after 2 days from the transaction, T0.
Anyone? Any other can answer? What is this T+2? We call T+2 rolling settlement. No? Okay. I have left one thing here. In 2004, commodity derivatives has started. Okay. This T plus 2 is the T plus rolling settlement or clearing and settlement process, that if we buy today, we will get share after T plus 2 trading days. If it today is, suppose today is Thursday, I bought some share today, I'll get in Monday, because today is T0, T1 is Friday, Saturday, Sunday are holiday, and the T plus 2 will be Monday. T plus 2 trading days. Okay. Then in 2005, gold ETFs has been introduced, that are exchange traded funds. Those mutual funds that will get listed in exchanges as ETF, then it will get traded in exchanges. Gold ETFs are more popular during this pandemic. Many investors has invested in gold ETFs, and that resulted the
Yeah, I guess there is some technical issues from that side. So participants, please bear with us.
Sir, please wait for a few minutes, sir. We'll be joining soon.
Okay,
Because
okay, fine, fine, fine.
current issues.
Okay, okay, fine. I just trying to connect him. Okay, it's fine.
Yes, sir.
Participants, please bear with us. There are some kind of technical issues and electricity supply. So just hang on. because of power cut, interruption of power supply, probably he is, yeah, he has joined back. Yeah, please unmute your mic, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my network was disrupted. My Wi-Fi was switched off. I don't know.
No issues. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So where I left, I think I have covered till minimum public shareholding. I was audible.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Go ahead. You are audible. Yeah.
Okay. So this was, I was there in minimum public shareholding. Now this participants, process and products, these three categories of regulatory reforms that SEBI has done. In each of those like process, product and participants, we'll see what are the reforms that SEBI has done till date. Okay. In primary market, this merits based to disclosure based, that it was having a fixed price in merit based. In disclosure based, it is actually with a cap and floor price. Again, each of the IPOs are disclosing all the information of the companies. Then we have moved from T+78 to T+12 to T+3 listing days. What does it mean? It means once allotment of IPOs are there, then it will get listed in the secondary market. So what is the timeline from the allotment to listing in the secondary market? Now it is T+3. In 3 days it is getting listed. Suppose SBI card IPO is coming. I am getting SBI card IPO. I got the allotment. Then when it will be available in the secondary market? It was there in the primary market. I was looking into. Okay. Then I can get, means the companies whosoever has come out with IPO will get listed in 3 days in the secondary market. So that is a speed process. Then facility of e-voting. Now all the equity holders can vote, so they can now do electronic voting. Earlier it was physical voting. Again, you can enter your account details with NSDL or CDSL. You can vote. E-voting are applicable. And then ASBA is there in each of the internet banking. We can book, or we can book the IPO through this application supported by blocked amount, that is ASBA. And rejection framework for offer documents. These offer documents, when companies come out with, then there are criteria to reject those that has been built up. Now circuit filter or call option to regulate the volatility on listing. I'll come that circuit filter. I have kept it at a last part of what circuit filter and circuit breaker is. We'll cover that in a detailed way, what circuit breaker mean. In the secondary market, what are the reforms? The open outcry system to screen-based trading system we have moved. Then robust margining and risk management system. Now we have margins in each of the segments, and there are recent developments in margin also. Margin itself is one session that is a big thing. So margining, robustness in margining and risk management are there. Enhance the market surveillance. See, exchanges are having surveillance department, and regulators are also having surveillance department. Then settlement and trade guarantee fund. One fund has been created in exchanges. They are all the brokers are contributing, exchanges are contributing, depository and clearing corporations are contributing to the settlement and guarantee fund. If someone will, please mute, madam. If someone is getting defaulted, a broker is getting defaulted, then they can use this settlement guarantee fund, and no settlement is stuck because of default of one broker or something. So this settlement guarantee fund is there for the smooth function of the settlement process. Then this T+2 rolling settlement and the depositories and the dematerialization of shares has been applied. Now this KYC norm has been harmonized. Then transparent exit mechanism for stock exchanges. Then removing of entry load. Entry load was there in mutual fund schemes. Then straight through processing the settlement. It was not delayed. Then incentive for attracting investment from rural areas by mutual funds. Mutual fund has started giving good incentives to the distributors. Then exclusive appellate tribunal and designated courts are there to resolve the issues, and harmonized settlement process. The SEBI scores that I was showing you now is for complaint redressal system and transparency in attribution of mechanism. In the products, we had discussed about SME trading platform that day. Then we have categories of qualified institutional placements, QIP. Then institutional placement programs are there. Offer for sale are allowed. Offer for sale is when the promoter wants to dilute their shareholding pattern. Then institutional trading platform has been introduced. In the secondary market products, we have internet trading and trading through mobile phones has been allowed. Then direct market access for some of the institutional investors, especially.
Sir, what is SME trading platform?
SME trading platform is the small and medium enterprises trading platform. See, what we are seeing is the normal market trading platform that is called main board. In the last class, I have segregated two things, main board and SME IPO, main board IPO. So SME trading platform will allow only SME stocks that have been listed in SME exchange to trade there. Okay. And SME trading platform is having some lot size. We can't buy one SME share of one SME company. Okay. So that is a separate trading platform. Trading platform, when we say, just see, these Flipkart and Amazon are giving us platform to buy some goods or some products. So just like that, these trading platforms are giving option to buy some of the financial instruments or equities or derivatives. So this SME trading platform is specially for SME stocks. Okay. Then this algo trading and high frequency trading is allowed. Then equity derivatives, futures and options has been introduced. Currency and trading through stock exchanges and corporate debts has been allowed. Okay. Then in reforming participants, you can see we have infrastructure institutions. Okay. Have you heard, anyone has heard about co-location? Co-location? Anyone? I'll request all of you to at least go through some of the business newspaper. These recent developments you can track from the business newspapers. This co-location was allowed to improve the speed of execution. Okay, speed of execution means once speed of execution means speed of execution of trade. Okay, if I buy immediately, I should get the share. If I sell, immediately my trade should get executed. So this facility, one such facility is co-location, means brokers can place their server at near exchange server. The speed of execution will happen if we exchange server and broker server are put together, or it will be kept near the exchange server. So this exchanges has been allowed, and they charge for this, charge to the broker to place their server with the exchange trading server. If they place there, suppose all brokers pay same fee to place their server for the accessing of co-location facility. Okay. Now, if one is here, one broker is here, another broker is here, and we'll say this is the exchange server. Okay, this is exchange server. Then how does this first broker, second broker, you can say third broker and fourth broker. There are 4 brokers. They have suppose kept their server nearby the exchange server, but first broker is so near to exchange server and fourth broker is so far to exchange server, but all are paying the same fee to access this facility. So logically, first broker will get fast trade, then fourth broker will get little delayed trade execution, isn't it? Are you getting what co-location I am saying? What server this is exchange server, this is the broker's server. Suppose there are 4 brokers, they have kept this server in 4 different different brokers has kept 4 different servers in the exchange near exchange server. So exchange has given the space for that, and exchange is charging huge amount for putting or placing the broker's server near exchange server. So this person or this first broker will get trade executed immediately, right? Right? Are you understanding what I am saying?
Yes,
are you getting? Sir. Yeah. So logically, this first broker will get fast trade because fourth broker is little far, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So that was the issue that came out. Then what exchanges has done? Exchanges has given same length of wire to first person, whatever length of wire is there for fourth broker. Okay, so that all will get same distance, even if it is nearby, but the wire length should be same as fourth person's or fourth broker's wire length. So that is called co-location. Someone can do research on co-location as well. Co-location issue or very biggest issue in Indian market. So then that was also some of the fraud also came out. Again, now co-location is doing very good. Okay. So all those we have discussed about how infrastructure, intermediaries, and investors has been reforms has been done in each of the section. We say 3I in the market. 3I means first I is institution, another I is intermediaries, third I is investors. Okay, you can easily remember who are participating in the market. One is institutions, another is intermediaries, another is investors. Okay. Now, this was left how in the last class, whenever someone like some company come out with a public issue, they list in the exchanges. Once they will come out with a public issue through ICDR. What is that ICDR? Can anyone say what is ICDR? Last class we have told. This is issuer compliance and disclosure regulation. Okay, this is required for bringing out IPO. Once you have come out with IPO as a company and you have listed in the exchanges, you have to do continuous disclosure of all of your financials and activities quarterly, half yearly, and yearly to the exchanges and to the regulators. So that is called that regulation is called LODR, Listing Obligation and Disclosure Regulation. Okay, this LODR came in 2015. So under this LODR, each of the items like disclosure of material, price of sensitive information, if financial results to exchanges and in newspapers, you can see every quarterly results and annual reports are coming out. Then quarterly disclosure of shareholding patterns, like how much is there with say promoter, how much is there in non-promoter, under non-promoter who is the highest shareholder. The norm related to if you change your name, promoter reclassification, etc. has to be disclosed. And compliance certificate on corporate governance by listed companies, they has to get the compliance certificate. So corporate governance norm has been standardized. Okay, and disclosure under takeover codes also is applicable if it is going for any acquisition or takeover. And disclosure under insider trading. Yeah, insider trading, I was there. I have not told about the insider trading. Anyone can say what you mean by insider trading? What do you mean by insider trading? Anyone?
In insider trading, the employees or the directors inside the company tell the if in case they have to take some measure decisions which can increase or decrease their share price, they tell each other or they buy or sell the shares in themselves.
Exactly. So insiders buy or sell because they have some inside information. Who are insiders? Insiders are maybe employees of the company or the promoters of the company or the senior management of the company. So they know about before releasing any information, they know that if they trade on behalf of that information before it comes to the market or to the public, then that is insider information or insider trading. So insider trading regulation has come out. Even if your spouse is trading or your in-laws are trading based on some of the information, still if in-laws also SEBI tracks their trades. So insider trading regulations are there, and due to that only we are able to reduce the insider trading. Okay, now once this regulation came out, now you can see easily you can move without any obstacle. This is the regulated road and the previous was the unregulated road. Okay, those challenges will not go, will come. These are the yearly, you can go through. Those are, we have discussed yearly movement or yearly changes that has happened. This after SEBI came out, what are the new things that yearly it has done? In the previous slide, I have placed this in the form of table. This is in form of trend, how it has been improved. Now we'll come to circuit breaker. This is the last part. We'll take some 10 minutes, and again after that we'll come allow some question answers. Yeah. So what does circuit breaker mean? How many of you have heard about circuit breaker? Those who are from engineering, you can see this is there for we say short circuit or automatic halt of the powers of electricity. Okay. How many of you have heard about circuit breaker? Anyone heard about circuit breaker in market?
Yes, sir. It is used in a home for electricity to control the excessive electricity at a point of time or something like that.
Excessive, or if any harm is there, it will just switch off the powers, or it will just stop the powers to come so that no harm will happen. Okay. Again, if you see speed breakers in the road, that are there to save us or to save from any accident. So this circuit breaker concept comes from electronics. The meaning is it is a automatic device for stopping the flow of current in an electric circuit. It's a safety measure. So nothing wrong will happen. So there will be no fire or no damage to the home. So that we have short circuit or circuit breaker. Okay. In stock market, this is called as automatic halt or suspension of the trading on the stock exchange. So automatically trading will stop if any problem is there or any higher moment or lower moment is there. When we say higher moment or lower moment, if it goes very high or it comes down very low, then automatic halt will be there. Okay. It is like to cooling down or to allow investors to digest the new news for some time. They should calm down and they should place order in a not in a very hurry manner to save those losses and to save the crisis. This and to reduce the volatility in the market, especially, and to maintain the liquidity in the market. Two objectives of this circuit breaker in stock market. One was to reduce the volatility. Second one is to increase the liquidity in the market. The main two objectives of circuit breaker is there. This circuit breaker concept came in 1988. In 1987, US stock market crash was there. After that, there was a committee under Brady Commission, that is called Brady Committee. They have submitted the report to US government in 1988 that we should have circuit breaker in the stock market. Before that, the concept was not there. Why we should have? Because if huge losses are there or huge gains are there, we can stop that at some moment so that it will reduce the volatility of the market. Then USA has implemented this circuit breaker in 1988, and after that, all the other exchanges, other regulators have come out with circuit breaker regulation, and they have implemented this circuit breaker. Now, this circuit breaker are three types. Okay, one is price limits, another is firm specific or sector specific, and third one is market wide. So we can say stock wise circuit breaker, say sector wise circuit breaker, or firm specific circuit breaker, and third one is market wide circuit breaker. In our market, we have price limits and market wide circuit breaker. We don't have a firm specific trading halt or sector specific trading halt. Okay. This price limit or stock wise circuit breaker are two types. One is price limit, another is stock circuit breaker. Price limit, what does this price limit means? Price limit means price will freeze. There will be no moment in the price. If price has reached a specific point in time, then there will be no moment in the price, but trading can take place with a freeze price. Okay. And stock wise circuit breaker means trading will totally halt on that stock. Okay. That is called stock price limits. We don't have a stock wise circuit breaker. Again, we have price limits. And we have market-wide trading halts. How does it happens? Like if there are in our market-wide circuit breaker, we have three categories. If market goes 10% up or down, it will halt for a specific period of time. For how much it will halt, how much time it will halt, we'll show you in subsequent slides. If it will halt, then it will again give chance for the participants to come into, and there will be again pre-opening session for that, for the price discovery, and market will come out with a fair price again to control the volatility in the market. Okay, we have 10, 15, and 20% in market wide. In price limit, we start from 2%, it goes up to 20, 30% as well. It differs from stock to stock. In all over the world, if you see, these price limits are 5% in Austria, Belgium 10%, China 10%. China has removed this circuit breaker. China's circuit breaker was hitting every day. If your upper circuit limit like 20% is hitting, then your market will be closed for the day. China's market was closed for almost 15 to 20 days in 2 months. In 2 months, 15 to 20 days means it is 1 month trading days only. 1 month trading day. Then China has removed this circuit breaker from the market. So these are all the countries, they have specific percentage that circuit breaker they had, and there are countries they have like circuit breaker in both cash and derivative. Some are having only in derivative markets, and some are not having in derivatives market. Okay, this circuit breaker. Now in India, okay, we'll come to India. Now, what are the benefits of this circuit breaker? It gives investors time to cool off or to digest the news. It reduces market volatility and protect investors. It also provides time to restore the equilibrium between buyers and sellers, and provide opportunity to increase the information flow. What is happening? Why market is crashing or market is going down, or why it is going up? So it will give some opportunity to increase the information flow. Information should reach to everybody why it is happening. Then the cost is, it creates undesirable situation to the investors, and it accelerates the price movements towards the pre-announced limits, and it also induces panic and uncertainty. It creates a chain of defaulters. But this cost has been taken care about by the regulators, and they have implemented. Almost 100 plus countries stock exchanges has so far implemented this market-wide circuit breaker. Now for India, we have implemented in 2001 our index-wide circuit breaker are 10, 15, and 20%. But we are not having a single market-wide circuit breaker for so many years. Okay, we'll come to that when this market-wide circuit breaker is hit. Then there are certain changes in the time to time amendment in the market-wide circuit breaker regulation. Last amendment was done in 2015. Now this is what the application of 10% circuit breaker in Indian market. If market is reaching 10% either way, when we say either up or down before 1 p.m., then there will be 1 hour halt. Okay. If it is reaching between 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., if market is reaching into 10% moment, then there will be 30 minutes halt. If after 2:30 it is reaching 10%, then there will be no halt. Okay, because 1 more hour is there. For 15%, if 15% moment is there either way, it will, if it is before 1 p.m., 2 hours halt will be there. Between 1 to 2 p.m., 1 hour halt will be there. After 2 p.m., no halt will be there. If once market reopens for trading, if it hits 20%, then trading stops for the day. Okay, if any time 20% moment is there, then trading will halt for the day. These are the instances that we are having market-wide circuit breaker. This is 2004. Actually, this date has been removed, I think. This is the first case was 2004. You can see most of the cases. What was the event? Why this has heated either lower circuit or upper circuit. In most of the cases, it is lower circuit. Only in one case in 2009, it was upper circuit. Okay. So these are all lower circuit. Even during this pandemic, due to this COVID-19, we had 2 more instances on 13 March and 23rd March. We had lower circuit of 10% hit. So you can see most of the cases, it is the election day result or the global financial crisis, subprime financial crisis, or the COVID crisis. And in some cases like 2012, there was a problem in the NSE system, wrong order punching was there. And in some of the cases, this promissory notes case and margin issues were there. But most of the things are either related to crisis or related to the election day result. Okay. With this, I have covered with you in the primary and secondary markets. Yeah. Okay. So we can take questions and you can interact. You can ask any of the questions that is coming to your mind. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'd invite the participants to interact with the resource person.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the process of a public company to get listed?
Public company means what do you mean by public company first? Are you meaning by government company, which is government company?
Sir, no, sir, private companies.
Yeah, private company. Yeah. So they will first prepare. Actually, in last class you are there, Khushbu? In the
Yes,
last
sir.
session you are there? Yeah. So
Yes,
the process I was explaining in the last classes, like they have to first appoint a merchant banker. They have to prepare the documents for applying to the exchanges and to the regulators. And they will do due diligence. They will see they are satisfying all the norms, and their auditing has to be done with all their track records has to be positive over 3 to 5 years. Then they will apply to the exchanges and SEBI. If SEBI and exchanges allows, then they will come out with listing or with public issue. Okay. And there are so many stringent regulations on that. Even NSE is not yet allowed to come out. NSE has applied to SEBI before 2 years. So to get listed at BSE, still there are, if some governance issue is there in your company, SEBI will not allow easily. Even exchanges will also not allow. So you have to pay again all the service charges and the listing charges to exchanges and SEBI if in case you are allowed. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah. Any question you can ask other than the subject also you can ask, like other than what we have covered, you can ask also. In last class, some questions were there. We were not having time. You can ask those questions as well.
Sir, what is the difference between market price and limit price, and why we should prefer limit price?
Okay, market price and limit price. Good question. Suppose today we can go to NSE website. If you want to see a trade of any of the stocks, you can see in NSE website. I will show you how the market price and yeah. So you can go to pre-open markets to see what is the pre-open prices. We'll go to equity and SME market. See, sorry, this is the old website. NSE is having two websites, NSE India 1 and NSE India. Yeah, this is the new website. That old website they'll close. See, this is live market. You go to equity stock. Okay, you can see these are all, you can able to see Nifty 50. Today's trade history is there. Okay, when we say we'll see the last traded price. Suppose say G Limited was 216.85 at 3:30. It got closed, and you can see the percentage moment or percentage change. All have gone positive. You can see the color. If it is green, then it is positive. If it is red, then it is negative. These are the see, Nestle has gone like 202 rupees 95 paisa down today. So you can see the bottom levels, and you can see the highest traded of the day from the Nifty 50. You can go for any of the indices, and you can see also. Okay, now your question is, at what point we'll go for market order, at what point we'll go for limit order. Now the last traded price for G Limited is 216.85. If I want to buy this G Limited, I'll buy at 216. Suppose say 216 or say 217. Okay, I'll buy at 217 or 216.85. You can say. So exactly you get 216.85. So this is called market order. Okay, I am buying at market price. Now I'll set my limit. I'll say if it comes down to 215, then only I will buy, or else I will not buy. Okay, because there are fluctuations that are happening. If it will come down to 215, then only I will buy. This is called limit order. Okay, this is in the case of buyer's limit, we always prefer to buy at lower price than the market price. So you can say this is for buyer. Suppose you hold G Limited, you have G Limited share. You have G Limited share, you want to sell it. You will sell it higher than the market price. So your sell limit price will be more than the market price. Suppose at 218 or 220, you are saying market is going up. I'll sell this G Limited if G Limited will reach to 220 or 218. Or else what happens, if by 3:30 it is not reaching, then my order will get automatically cancelled. Okay, it will get automatically cancelled. Okay, once it get automatically cancelled, do I need to pay some fee? No, I don't need to pay any fee of the unexecuted orders. Okay, once it get traded, then only I will pay fee. Are you clear about market order and limit order? Now the question is, why should we go for limit order?
Sir, in case of sale order, we will try to sell it in more price, and in buyer case, we will try to buy at lower price.
Yeah. So now the question is, why should we prefer limit price over market price? Because fluctuation is happening very rapidly. The moment we see it is 216.85, it may go down, or it may go off to 218 or 217. As a buyer, we prefer to buy at a lower price, and as a seller, we prefer to sell at a higher price. That's why we prefer always for limit price. If in case it is not like that, we don't want market order, if in case we saw some good news for any company, go and buy and market order itself, because immediately it will go up. Your limit order will not work. You will give limit at a lower price to buy, but market is in bullish mode. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
Any questions from our participants? You can ask.
Yeah. Please ask.
Any questions from our students?
Don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, this is the platform. You can ask, you can clarify your doubts, because sir is the expert in capital market. Since last 10 years, he is in capital market in this field, and he has a great knowledge, fantastic knowledge in this.
Sir, I have another question, sir. So
Please,
that in case of Google Pay or Phone Pay, we see that they are partnered up with UTI. So, sir, how that like how they get partnered with each other through electronic?
UPI or UTI?
Sir, UPI.
Yeah. See, those are payment banks. Those actually Google Pay is not allowed by RBI. So those are allowed by RBI. RBI governor also explained that Google Pay is not allowed. But they are partner with a UPI. They can they're on a payment system. They can be partner of UPI. There are so many even mobile companies also, they have payment banks. Now payment bank is actually increasing, and RBI is getting more applications on payment bank rather than other applications like NBFC or banking applications. So many payment banks has come out now. So they will be associated with UPI. Okay, we have National Payment NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India. They actually govern all these electronic payment system. Now our payment system is very faster because of establishment of NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India. Yeah. You can go National Payments Corporation of India. Yeah. You can go through NPCI, you just see how this payment system is happening. They have so many materials as well in the NPCI website. Yeah. Next, any
other questions, please? So, I don't think more questions is there from our participants. So, sir. Yes, sir. Panda sir, please. Would you like to tell something?
No, sir. No, I am saying.
I'm asking Dr. Hemant Kumar Panda sir, our dean. He's also Panda.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, I think it's all fine going. It's very well managed. The participants, the research persons, they are doing pretty good. Yes, there are some questions might be again raising from this side. People can also speak out, but it's all worth attending and worth learning. Thanks, Professor Panda, for managing this so very seamlessly and fantastically going in that case. But advise participants that it's all very necessary for your day-to-day activities. You must join in the market, know things, and must add value to your elections. So your deposit must go high. So that's the opinion we're having. Yes, the questions from the participants, please.
No, sir. Actually, they have asked all the questions. So no more questions from the participants. So it's time to end the session. So I just want you to.
If any participant want to ask, you can also give my email ID. They can write to me.
Yes, yes, no doubt. We'll say.
Okay, thank you, sir.
It's all second session taken by Professor Padita Panda, and nicely grateful to him for his patient, dedication and kind of meaningful delivery. And these are all good learning. I'm sure things will move. We look forward to again meet you in future course of action. So in many ways that we can meet. And to my participants, you can still exploit him, extract the knowledge from him, maybe later stage also by sending mails and talking through WhatsApp. So we'll share these links, and also we'll share the slides. Request Professor Panda to share slides to send across the participants. So it's a great learning and great lesson. I think we enjoyed the session. We've seen the greater part of this delivery.
Thank you, Dr. Pradip Panda sir. Thank you so much for accepting my request and taken 2 sessions in our finance program. And both are today. I was busy with my other activities, but first session I was there. And definitely, both the session will help a lot for the student to learn something extra, something new in this financial markets. Thank you so much, sir. And definitely in future, I'll request you to take few sessions also, because we people are, our university is organizing continuously the series of seminars, webinars, talks, FDPs, MDPs, conferences, seminars. So definitely future, I'll request you for some other sessions, sir. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you, Professor Nanda and Professor Hemant sir. Actually, you have organized a very good workshop. That is a very good thing that participants are learning. And thank you, SBM, also giving me opportunity. So we'll be in touch. Yeah.
Sure, sir.
We'll be looking forward to meet you in future. Absolutely. That's our pleasure.
Thank you all the participants.
Yeah. We'll meet tomorrow participants again at 3:30.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye for now. Bye. Nice meeting you.